Thank you, Holly. One man says the quake arrived with a rumbling that, quote, sounded like a train coming to a stop. And CNN anchor Susan Candiotti says that her first thought was that it was a bomb. Those are just some of the reactions that we have heard from people who experienced the earthquake. Joining us now on the phone is Chris Law, our own Jason Law's father. He was home at the time of the earthquake. Mr. Law, thank you for joining us, and we're certainly relieved to hear that you were not injured in any way. Could you describe for us what you felt at home?
Sure. It was very surreal. I had just gotten home and I just came in. I heard the loud rumbling, the same as you just described. I thought there was maybe a truck or something coming down the road. I actually looked outside my window, and then the house started shaking violently. Cabinets started opening up, just something like you see out of the movies. I just took a knee and held on for about 10, 15 seconds. And then it stopped. So it was good. Very, very scary, very surreal.
And Mr. Law, of course, you're joining us because you live in Washington. Is this one of those where you sort of run outside and you look around as if you're not even quite sure really what's happened? How did your neighbors react?
Yeah, absolutely. We stepped outside. There was there's a work crew that's doing some work on a house across the street, and they stopped their what they were doing. We all kind of gathered. There was a few kids. The kids haven't gone back to school yet. There was a few kids looking at each other. We talked, and we said, I think we had an earthquake here. None of us had really ever been through one. Just to be on the safe side, I'm in law enforcement, so I made contact with my agency just to make sure there wasn't something else going on. Living, this close to Washington, D.C., that's always a concern, and that's what passes through your mind. But that was basically it.
And being, as you mentioned, in law enforcement for as long as you have, and living in the Washington area, and someone myself who's lived in the Northeast, one of the things you never really go through when you're living up there is the thought that there could be an earthquake. How surprised are you at the fact that indeed is what it is? Well,
when I first started experiencing it, that's what I thought. And then I said to myself, we don't get earthquakes here. This isn't California. So even though I thought before we were going through, it just didn't make sense. And then at the conclusion, that's why I reached out to my agency just to make sure that that's what we were experiencing. But it doesn't, we don't get very many of them here on the East Coast, that's for sure.
Mr. Law, thank you for joining us. I'm sure that Jason certainly is also relieved to know that you and your family are okay. And again, we wish you our best considering the fact that they are expecting some tremors up there. So certainly stay safe. Now,
well, thank you.
Take care.